Okay, now the collapse of the rail network in the country has had a devastating impact. We've seen as an explosion of trucks transporting goods on roads and highways, and this posing a danger to motorists. Government is planning to tackle this issue by introducing a 10-year road master plan. It will include how to get at least 50 million tons of freight and 100 million passengers off our roads and onto rail. And this plan is expected to develop new funding models for the maintenance of roads. Well, let's discuss all of this now with Havenga, Emeritus Professor of Industrial Engineering at Stellenbosch University. Prof, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. I guess for a country that is blessed with this long coastline and we have to move goods between the various parts. Prof, are you there? I think we've lost that connection there with Professor Havenga. Apologies for that. We will try and get him back online. Meanwhile, let's bring you this story. Oh, I understand he's back with us. Prof, are you there? Hello, Professor Jan Havenga, are you there? No, we're having a problem. Apologies for that. Let's bring you another story in the meantime. Our education system needs to create knowledge about drug abuse. This is the view of Social Development Minister Lindiwe Zulu. Her department has brought together key role players for a 3-day summit on ways to tackle drugs in communities. Zulu says they are now alarmed about how South Africa has become a serious player in the production and distribution of drugs. She says there's been a link between young people and drugs and alcohol abuse.
The problem is big. That's why when we were speaking earlier on there, we were saying we must not give up. Let us first and foremost accept that as a nation, we are a nation where the making of the drugs is happening here, the trafficking of the drugs is happening here, the drugs that are coming from other countries. We have become also a route because, as you are aware, we have our oceans, we have our centers where normal products are supposed to be coming in, and in that process of ensuring that there's normal products coming in, some people take advantage and bring the drugs into the country. The very need and necessity, the demand and supply, if we can be able to deal with the demand, deal with the supply, in fact, start with the supply, because in most instances, you go to communities and they complain about the fact that the drug lords, the real people who have their little soldiers that run around selling the drugs. But let's also not forget about the fact that when we talk about substance abuse, we're not only talking about drugs, we're also talking about alcohol. We're also talking about people who get used or depend on some drug or the other. In fact, in our communities, we even have people who are dependent on medicines which are not supposed to, whether it's taking tablets more than they are supposed to take them. They get used, they get hooked. That on its own becomes drug abuse. But most importantly, it is about the coordination that I spoke about. We need the police, we need the justice system, we need health, we need education. And you heard about the people who spoke here, speaking about their children who abuse, and they start that at schools, which therefore means our education system must also include awareness about drug abuse. We must have awareness of the impact of dependency on any form of drug or the other.
Social Development Minister, that's Lindiwe Zulu. Now, we've been focusing here on eNCA since yesterday on the state of our rail network and how it has had a devastating impact on our economy. But in the meantime, we've seen an explosion of trucks on our roads. But government says it's got a master plan, a 10-year road master plan, which is set to launch in the near future to get at least 50 million tons of freight and 100 million passengers off the roads and onto rail. Let's discuss all of this and the meaning of it with Jan Havenga, Emeritus Professor of Industrial Engineering at Stellenbosch University. Prof, welcome back. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I mean, there was no way that the road infrastructure would not be used to transport goods around the country. I mean, we are blessed with this very beautiful coastline, long coastline in South Africa, and that's how trade has happened. But because our rails are not delivering, and everything else has turned now, most of this thing has turned to trucks. But this is not sustainable.
No, it's not. It's too expensive. I think the cost that we pay too much in this country for using trucks rather than rail at the moment is in the region of about 100 billion rand per annum. I'm not talking about the commodities and the mining commodities that we are not out exporting at all because we can't get to the sea. That would add another 300 or so billion rand to the bill, meaning that as a country, we're losing R1 billion a day because of our rail's inefficiencies, because of the problems and challenges that they have by rail. It's in the region of R1 billion a day that we lose, about 5% of GDP. And many of that freight has to come back to rail. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and the current freight that's on the roads, with the number of trucks that we've seen, as I've said earlier, an explosion of trucks on our roads. If you go on the N3 highway to Durban, you go on the N1 highway to Cape Town, you go on the N4 highway to Maputo, and the other route into northern KZN to Richards Bay, you just see trucks and trucks. It's also not really sustainable in terms of the infrastructure, the road infrastructure itself.
No, not at all. And we have to remember that a lot of this road infrastructure is also paid by government. I think SANRAL gets a grant of about 60 billion rand per annum, whereas the railway, as it currently stands, get no grant from government. And now I'm talking about on the freight side now. So it cannot stay like this. We have to use the mode that is the most efficient to use in this case. I hear what you say about the master plan. From my side, I've been following the president's actions. When he promised a logistics freight roadmap for South Africa during SONA. That roadmap is now nearly finished. I hope it will go to cabinet in the next few weeks. It is a great plan for South Africa how to restructure our logistics infrastructure. So for the first time since SONA this year, I'm started to get positive. The only problem was that there was management problems at Transnet, like serious management problems. The board was very ineffective. That has changed now as well. The Minister of Public Enterprises has appointed about 100 days ago a new board. I know the new board chairman, Andile Sanku, has made his 100-day statement. They're making some progress. Management has been replaced. I know the new managing director of Transnet, the acting one, Michelle Phillips, is a great person. Russell Baatjies of the railway is a great person, but the damage that they need to fix is just tremendous. There's been a huge onslaught on our infrastructure. But this is good, guys. Let's give them a chance. I think they can do it.
You sound very positive. I just want to double click on that because we in the media get accused a lot of being negative and pessimistic. You said it's a great master plan. This 10-year plan, road master plan, you describe it as great and you said you're positive about it. There's progress with the Transnet leadership and management issues seemingly now beginning to be sorted. Now, is it coming at early enough? I mean, or is it too little too late, this plan, if it's such a great plan? And we'll have to judge it, I guess, by its implementation, Prof, because this government, and the ANC government in particular, since 1994, has come up with a lot of great plans before.
I mean, what you say is true. And I myself was surprised. I'm quite honest with you, I was surprised. The president made this promise in SONA that he will develop a freight logistics roadmap for South Africa. He's kept his promise. It's nearly done. It will go to the president promised Business South Africa a National Logistics Crisis Committee. He's given it to them. They meet them every 6 weeks. There's been a massive change. I'm also the change of heart of understanding that there's leadership problems and creating an environment where we can have a leadership replacement with good people. I'm quite surprised. But the first part of your question, yes, it was nearly too late. It's going to be a very, very difficult problem to fix. And I would have liked the president and I would have liked the Minister of Public Enterprises to act sooner. They waited very, very late before they got involved in this problem and fixing it, because the damage that was caused by the previous management of Transnet is just tremendous. One cannot believe the damage to infrastructure. It's terrible. Worse than that is the damage to what I call soft infrastructure, allowing people to leave, asking people to leave, good people that took packages, good people that were not allowed to do their jobs because of a toxic culture. All of that now has to be fixed. but I've seen with my own eyes how the current management is working very hard. You know, they had their delegation of authority for less than a month. And they're doing a massive amount of stuff to get this turnaround in place. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. There's one or two things that we have to be careful about. The one is a new full-time managing director for Transnet needs to be appointed. I hope it's a good person.
So this plan is doable in your view, provided some of the things you've mentioned get done, that there's proper implementation with the right people at the helm driving the execution.
It is absolutely doable. Now, a lot has been said on the Transnet side that Transnet has asked the government for a 20 billion rand per annum for 2 years capital injection and asked the government to take over half of their debt. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think a massive amount of capital is going to come from government. But if we can restructure the balance sheet properly to carry us through the point until we restructure Transnet, I think this can absolutely be done. So I am hopeful, but there's a lot of dangers ahead. And the implementation dangers that you talk about is correct. It's going to depend on the management, the full-time management that gets appointed. If it's competent people, I think this can be done.
Yeah, I'm sure you and I will speak again in the near future, Prof, as we watch the progress, because there are certain steps. You've mentioned that the president now has to go to after the drafting of this roadmap, including, of course, getting the cabinet's approval. But thank you very much for your time and your insights, as usual. That's Havenga, Emeritus Professor at Stellenbosch University.